So I want to talk a little bit about what is not being talked about, the things that are not being talked about. Because one of the groups, the institutions that's not doing its job is obviously the media. The media has always been perfidious, it's always been bad, but now it's corrupt. It has been really, really corrupted by leftism and by this desire to not tell the facts and let the people decide, but to bully the people into agreeing with leftist doctrines. It's very clear. It is so clear that the only people who can't see it are the people who are doing it because they think they're telling the truth with a capital T when their job is to deliver the facts with a small f. And that is a very, very different job. So they're not performing the telos of their job and they're not living in the truth about themselves. So just to give a quick example, this is from the Federalist talking about bomb threats to Target during Pride Week and Pride Month, because of Pride, 6 months, whatever it is, because Target has been saying, oh yeah, we're getting bomb threats. But what the media does not report, here's a report from The Hill. Target stores in at least 5 states receive bomb threats over Pride items. So it sounds like anti-gay people are threatening Target with bombs, but in fact, of course, it is LGBTQ activists are doing this because they don't like the fact that Target has backed off a little from protests. So the press is lies. The press isn't doing their job. And one of the things that because they're not doing their job in service to leftism, the powers that be, who are leftists by nature, because leftism is giving more power to the powerful, are in cahoots with the media. The media pretends that it is looking at government and speaking truth to the powerful, very rarely actually doing that, but instead are defending Democrats and attacking Republicans. So now that our corrupt Department of Justice is not doing its job, but is instead trying to get Trump, when this is what so many prosecutors are doing around the country, trying to get Trump and put him in jail and basically either make it so that he won't be elected because he's so unpopular. We don't know their motives exactly, because it may be that they're trying to get him to be the candidate by making the Republican base so angry that they nominate him, that they don't desert him, and they nominate him, but then he won't be electable to the general public, which I think is a good strategy because I think it would work. It's despicable, but it's a good strategy and it will work, I think. So what is happening is this: Trump has once again taken all the air out of the room, and Trump indictments take the air out of the room. But what have I said to you? This is actually not what the election is about. The election is not about Trump. The country's not about Trump. Your life isn't about Trump. Our freedom isn't about Trump. Our freedom is about our freedom. Our country is about our freedom. Our life is about freedom. All of those things are things that we want to fight for. That is the telos of fighting for your country. That's the purpose of fighting for America and doing the kinds of things we do here at the Daily Wire and doing the things you do in your daily life, including voting, including putting out lawn signs. All of those things are not about, oh, I like this guy, oh, I like the cut of his jib, oh, I like his tie. They're about issues that will keep us free, deciding the issues that will keep us free. One of the reasons we voted for Donald Trump is because by the time it was a 2-person race between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, it was no question which of them would keep us more free. Now, what's not being talked about is what Joe Biden is doing. And this is part of the purpose of indicting Trump. It keeps him in the news, and it keeps out of the news what Joe Biden is doing. You win an election when the election is about your opponent. You lose an election when it's about you and you're Joe Biden, and you're not just a failure, but you're a dangerous failure. Because one of the things that Joe Biden is trying to do is he is trying to take over business. All of this stuff that's happening in business where they're supporting gay rights. Matt Walsh had a story where even at Fox News, they're sending them memos about how to be better gay rights fighters, and they're just sending them out to read kind of pornographic material about gay people. I can't imagine what would happen if we invited some of the ladies in this company in and said, what we want you to do for Male Pride Day, we want you to read all these pornographic material. No, I mean, it's just despicable, but it's all happening because corporations are being bullied into it, right? Woke corporate governance begins with investment firms pressuring companies to behave in certain ways or telling them that they won't get what they want. Now, this is a big deal. This is something that is happening around the world, and Joe Biden is very much a part of it. You remember Daniel Henniger wrote about this in the Wall Street Journal. You remember recently, if you pay any attention to golf, there was a merger in golf with a Saudi Arabian company that basically bullied the American golf tour, the PGA Tour, into merging with it. Now that means that our golfers are working for Saudi Arabia, and that has ramifications. You are now working for a country that maybe is not the greatest country, but you don't want to be working for a country at all. You want to be working for private people. So all of this stuff is leading to a world in which government, you know what else is like this? Climate change panic, where they subsidize climate, what they think is going to be good energy, electric cars, wind energy, sun energy. They subsidize that. And so every company knows that he has got to pull that line instead of doing what might be best for the people who invested in this company, because it might bring in the greatest profit. So now the government is essentially running that business. And this is something that Joe Biden and the Democrats are stuffing into little things. They're putting it into their bills. They're burying it in places, and they'll call the bill, the Restart the Country Act or whatever they call it. But really what it's about is channeling government money into companies to force them to do what they want. And once you take the king's penny, you belong to the king. Once you take the government's money, you belong to the government. Now, red states are fighting back against this, and this is a big deal. There's an article also in the Journal by Andy Puzder saying that a lot of red states are getting together and saying to companies, it's already illegal for the trustees of a company, the people who control the investments of a company or your pension, for instance. It's illegal for people who control your pension to invest your pension for any other reason but to maximize your pension. That's what they are there to do. So they are not following the law if instead they go off and invest in eating bugs because they think that's a good thing to do. That is not following the law. And a lot of red states are passing laws that say, no, you cannot invest this money in equity because that's not going to make the biggest profit for the people you're investing for. And so red states are fighting back on this. And a lot of people, you're starting to hear, for instance, Harvard Law School published an article titled, "It's Time to Call a Truce in the Red State, Blue State ESG Culture War." Well, when the left wants to call a truce, there's one reason, only one reason when they want to call a truce or compromise. One reason, guess what it is? It's because they're losing. These are the issues we should be voting on. And I got to say, so far, I've not been that impressed with Governor DeSantis' campaign. I like Governor DeSantis. I love what he's done in Florida. He doesn't seem to be able to get the attention that he needs. Now, maybe that's impossible because the press is working to keep Trump at the center of things. But he does go out and say, here's my plan for de-weaponizing the federal government. Here's my plan for cleaning out the DOJ. That may not be as exciting as Trump calling Bill Barr a gutless pig, but it is actually what we should be voting on and what we should be discussing. This is a distortion. This is a distortion of information. We are actually receiving information that is distorted by the press, and we are allowing it to control us. We are allowing the left to control us by distorting information and reaching our emotions and letting our emotions take over our thoughts. Every time you hear somebody screaming, no, we've got to do this, we've got to do that, we don't have to do anything but win our freedoms back because they are under threat from leftists who've spent 50 years taking over the culture so they could do exactly what they're doing right now. It's subtle. It's not as obvious as you think it is. It's all about what we're not talking about. And that's why I keep trying to tell the truth about what's going on, because I think it's really important when we go to the voting booth, when we talk to our neighbors, when we put out the political sign on our lawn. All of those things have to be geared toward the issues fighting against the things that are taking our freedom away. If you love this content, and I know you did, like and subscribe, and you'll also love The Andrew Klavan Show. Subscribe to that wherever you get your podcasts.